Perfect. So welcome everybody. So I'm Kelly, the plant-based kitchenista. If you haven't met me before, you might have seen me on the Chef AJ. She's got the show that she does every single day, but she does basically the same people come on every month and we do different subjects. So I just did the class with her. So I did Easter recipes, which were great. Jerry has been eating on those Easter recipes for like the last 4 days. So I think he's finished up the rosemary roasted potatoes, the carrots with a pistachio relish, and then we did a mushroom leek and green pea it had a puff pastry on the top pie that was really good too. So we are, like I said, I always share recipes and things, but that was on Chef AJ show, we love Chef AJ. She's one of our favorites out there. And then we always, of course, do these about every 2 weeks. So this month's been a little crazy. Sorry for having to move things around. First thing is we had to get all of our ceiling actually retexturized from moving in the house. And that was a chore. I would not recommend doing that when you're moved into the house. Always have it done before when you're not in the house. And then, of course, then I got called to go out of town for work on Thursday and Friday this week. So that's why I had to move it from a Thursday. But thank you for joining us. I will get the next ones up for April. So if you do have any suggestions, please feel free to put them into chat. Like if there's different things that you'd like to see or something that you've always like, could you make this plant-based or something like that? I'm happy to do any of that and consider that. Otherwise, if I don't see any suggestions, then I'll just come up with, usually what I try to come up with is themes. So if you see something that's, Italian, you're usually going to get 2 different recipes, sometimes 3. It just really depends on what looks good and what I've come up with for the week and kind of maybe what I'm craving a little bit too. So Asian is definitely the theme for tonight. So we're going to be doing plant-based cabbage rolls. Have not done cabbage rolls in a long time. It's probably been 3 years at least since I've done cabbage rolls. And think about with these recipes, cabbage rolls is one that, if you say, let's just say you don't like mushrooms, I fully get it. I am not a mushroom fan unless you really saute them up and I don't know that it's like a chunk of mushroom. Then you can put in like maybe eggplant or zucchini. So think about it as a base, that the recipes that I'm giving you, and then feel free to add other vegetables and make it yourself, make it your own. And then the other one is a vegetable stir-fried noodles. Jerry and we do like drunken noodles and stir-fried noodles and all kinds of different things like that. We love anything that has like a kind of a pasta or like a rice noodle and then all kinds of vegetables and then an Asian sauce. There's nothing better. That's one of my favorite things, and it could be hot, cold, doesn't matter. We'll eat on it for days until it's completely gone. So before I actually go to start the recipes, I'll have Jerry introduce himself and then we'll get started. And if you see me looking to over here, you probably can see it on the camera. You'll see that to what I'm doing is looking at for like questions and things like that. So let me pull the.
Got it. Welcome everyone. Jerry Casados, plant-based nutritionist. I'm behind the camera. Any questions, don't use the chat and we'll answer them. If you have any questions on nutrition, I'll be glad to answer those too. But we're just, trying to build community here and get everybody informed of plant-based lifestyle, we call it. And we've been plant-based 16 years now. It's amazing. I did it for health reasons. If you know my story, it was heart disease developing, progressing. I was on 3 blood pressure meds, cholesterol med, now all gone. So Dr. McDougall got me off my meds, lost 35 pounds. I'm ready to go. And went back to school, and it's all history now. So I'm just trying to educate people. We do some classes here locally, and I did some Zoom ones on the meetup. I'm trying to do some more in the next month or 2, microbiome and stuff like that. There's some good subjects out there. So any questions, let us know. I'm just going to wait and eat. Thank you.
Yeah, he's definitely the food taster, eater, all those fun things. So, all right. So like I said, we'll get started on the cabbage rolls. One of the first thing that you do, of course, is if you're looking, I always say on here was Napa cabbage. Well, Napa cabbage in Colorado, for some reason, there's like one supplier that goes to all the different stores, like, Whole Foods, Natural Grocers. No Napa cabbage. Napa cabbage was in the stores last week. So we're actually just using a little bit different type of cabbage. So knowing that you can do that, you'll get to see that we're not using the Napa cabbage because, it has the really nice big leaves. We're using a little bit smaller, just means the cabbage rolls are going to be smaller, but it's still cabbage and still good. How do you know those GCI noodles? Oh, how do you okay. Yeah. So you can, there's all kinds of different things out there. We're going to use just a regular, it's a whole grain type of a spaghetti noodle, or you can use the linguine, but then there's rice noodles. There's so many other things out there that you can look at. Like if you go to like a Whole Foods or even just regular Kroger's, King Supers now, they have all kinds of different things that you can choose from. And then there's, you're just going to have to look for one that has kind of the measurements or the categories and stuff that you're looking for. So this one, we don't have that issue here. So we're actually just, like I said, just using a whole grain. We're just doing as I grab it, the whole grain Barilla. So it's just spaghetti is what we're going to do for this one. But there's so many other noodles out there that I'd say that anything that you want to use, that are healthy, just anything you want to use, just use that noodle in place of this one. Same thing, 8 ounces, boil it, cook it, however you need to do it, and then make up the salad. So udon noodles, all those kind of things. Would love to know how to do tempeh, like barbecue or other ways to cook. Okay, sounds good. I will figure all that out for you and get those things in place. Yeah, tempeh is people like, I would say with tempeh, people really like it or don't like it. So we can definitely look at something like that. There's like a lot of recipes out there that you can put them in bowls. So you could do them a barbecue flavor. You could do them like a lemon, like not lemon lime, but a lime chipotle flavor. So there's all kinds of different spices you can put on that. So thanks for the suggestion. But logos like the same noodles too. So thank you for those suggestions. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's get, so the actual cabbage. So as you can see, they're going to be a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to make some up, and then later and stuff, and I rinsed them all off a little bit later and stuff, I'll make up a whole bunch more that Jerry and I will be eating. But as you can see, the cabbage leaves are not that big, but this is still, once I actually steam them a little bit and they get really soft and pliable, then I'll be able to use them. So they're just going to be a little bit smaller than usual because no Napa cabbage in Colorado for some reason. Whoever state's got it, you got it all, sounds like. So I'm going to put these in because these are the bigger ones. I'm just putting them in a pot of boiling water. I'll just let them set for just a couple minutes. I actually probably just put a few more, but doesn't take very long. It's just like, when you put spinach in something that's hot, how spinach just all of a sudden turns into what you want it to do. So it goes really great. So it's the same thing with this. I just need it where it's pliable, which is pretty good here. And it rolls up, and then I'm going to put it in cold water. I'm just going to grab them up. It only takes a couple minutes. So if you got some cabbage that's really like firm, then you're just going to probably do it just a little bit longer. But this is actually really soft. Cold water. The cold water keeps it from cooking longer. So what ends up happening is like when you do asparagus or anything like that. So you're always wanting to throw it. It's like you cook it to right where it's al dente and you want it. If you leave it sitting there and it's cooling down, it's still cooking. So great question. So what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to stop the cooking process exactly where you want it. And that's why you put things in cold water. So great question. Let me just pull these two out. Okay. That's it. That's all you need to do. All right. I'll put these off to the side. These will be for later. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you're following along, the recipes and stuff are always on the site. So they're on the Google Drive, so you can download all the recipes. There's everything out there. So I already cooked the brown rice. I did that last night. I just put it in an Instant Pot just because I wanted to have it ready. I didn't figure you wanted to watch 15 minutes of brown rice cooking. So that's all ready to go. So it's just a nice, just nutty brown rice, just whatever, it's a short grain. So whatever, if you got long grain, short grain, whatever rice you prefer, if you prefer jasmine rice or something, you can do that. It's completely up to you. And then what we're going to do, and I've got the cabbage done. So now we're going to start cooking the veggies. So I've chopped up carrots and I've chopped up red bell pepper, onions. So if you're following along, I always try to have the recipe in front of me because I have a tendency when I'm cooking that I will, especially if I'm just cooking for myself, I know these things by heart. I'll just start doing things that are really out of order. And so that's why I always try to keep it in front of me to follow the order. And I try not to miss things, but every once in a while I do. So, all right. So we've got that cooking. So a little bit of vegetable broth. If you don't have vegetable broth, water, doesn't matter. And always remember, vegetable broth burns off fast. It's not like when you used to cook with oil. So that's one thing that we do here, whole food, plant-based, no oil. So we saute with vegetable broth or stock, water, and then every once in a while we'll do a white wine if we're doing a tomato sauce. So, all right, so we got there. So we're gonna add the onions. So just diced onions. I'll just grab a spoon. Get those going. All right. And a lot of times and stuff, there's recipes that they always talk about like sometimes you'll put the ginger to the end, sometimes you put the ginger at the front. One thing that when you're cooking with garlic, when you're cooking with garlic, one of the things you want to watch is don't have your heat too high, because if you do, you burn the garlic. So if you've ever had something like capellini pomodoro or some type of spaghetti or a pizza is a really good example too. And it almost tastes like, it almost like burns when you're eating it. That's because the garlic is burnt. So be careful with your garlic when you're cooking it up. So you want to make sure you're keeping the saute, but you're not burning it. Right? So garlic. So I'm going to step over to my freezer because I have my ginger there, and I'll talk about that. I keep all my ginger in the freezer. And the good thing about it is you don't have to peel off all the skin. So a lot of times they'll say, grab a spoon, peel off all the skin, do all that. If you freeze it and then you get, and I don't know what happened to my really good microplane, but if you use a microplane or a grater, then all you're going to do is you're going to start grating it like right over the dish. Every once in a while, you'll get a little piece of the skin, just pull it out, but it actually starts grinding up really well or grating up really well. So the actual amount of ginger is 3/4 of a tablespoon. So start it up. And the nice thing about it is that, you know, there's a lot of times and stuff, like when you first started out and was learning, you know, about cooking and all those fun things, you know, when you have the ginger, you would buy it. So you'd buy a nice piece like this, you'd forget about it. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, it was about this big in your refrigerator. This is the way to keep fresh ginger in your house all the time. Nothing better than grating up fresh ginger. If you don't have fresh ginger and you have it actually as a spice, so dried, you can also use it that way too. So we'll stop with that. I'll just leave that there for a couple minutes because we'll be using it. Smells good. You got the garlic, the ginger, the onions. The ginger smells really good. Okay, so then we've got the carrots. We've got that cooking. So diced carrots. You could do slices if you want to too, but you're thinking about when you're putting things together for a cabbage roll, you want everything kind of like the same bite-sized pieces. All right, so we got that in there. We've got the peppers, so red bell peppers. You want to do yellow, you want to do the mini peppers, you can use whatever pepper you'd like. I have a preference for red bell peppers or the sweet little mini peppers. Green, don't use it too much, every once in a while in certain things, but yellow, orange, great. All right, so carrot, peps, mushrooms. These are just regular button mushrooms, same thing, just chopped up. So that's why you're not wanting to add too much vegetable broth at the very beginning, because of course, mushrooms and peppers will actually put out a lot of moisture. And so you're wanting to make sure that you don't add too much moisture, and then otherwise you have to really drain it off and you lose a lot of the really good flavors. So always go low on your vegetable broth or your water first, and then come back and add more as you need it. So let's just give that a really good stir. What was nice about this is that I was chopping this up last night and I had it all in a big tray. So I have, you know, bring everything in a tray and I keep it in the fridge in the garage. I had like greens and yellows and reds and purples and all these beautiful colors for the recipes we're doing today. And I was like, now that shows really how beautiful a plant-based diet is. As I throw mushrooms all over the place. Okay, so I'll just let that kind of saute for a little bit. Brown rice will go in towards the end because that's just adding to that. So then in a saucepan, just going to watch that a little bit. So in a saucepan, we're actually going to make the sauce. So we've got a teaspoon of vegetable broth. So I'm just going to eyeball it. Right. And then you've got 2 garlic cloves. So just minced garlic. And garlic's one of those ones, you know, you can grate your own garlic, you can chop it up, you can do that, or you can buy it already chopped up in like little containers, jars, all those type of things that just are in water, which is really nice. If you're making something quick and you don't have the time to do the garlic, or your garlic has all the green stems coming out because you haven't used it for a while, it's nice to have it what's already in a jar. So this one was actually from a jar. So then we've got 1.5 tablespoons of tamari or coconut aminos. So of course, low sodium. That was the tamari. Then we've got a tablespoon of rice vinegar. Gives that nice, it's like all the umami flavors are coming out. And it also is nice for the acid that you're looking for on this sauce. Just do a quick stir. And think about with the cabbage rolls too, because we don't really have any green color. So I'll show you, we've got, we've got the reds and the oranges and the kind of the beige and the whites and stuff. But if you wanted to add some green color, you could put some scallions in there, which would be really pretty. And I just happen to have a few. So these are for decoration. And nice to add some color. All right. And then also, if you wanted to, you could always add spinach at the end. So kind of mixing that in, cabbage, you could do the red cabbage, all those kind of different things just to make it even prettier. All right, so we've got 3/4 of a tablespoon maple syrup. I keep all my maple syrup. I actually take it out of the jars and the containers that it comes in, and I put it into a mason jar with a plastic lid. And then I keep it in the refrigerator so it keeps a lot longer. So I never have to worry about the maple syrup, because if there has been sometimes and stuff, if you don't put the maple syrup in the refrigerator, that it actually will start molding. So I've had that happen a couple times. So I don't want to do that. Half a cup of water, just regular old water or distilled water, whatever you've got. And then cornstarch. So when you're doing cornstarch, one of the things you got to think about is you got to make sure that you only add just a little bit, and then really whisk it up, because otherwise you're going to get lumps, just like what when your mom used to make gravy, if she made the homemade gravy, if you put in the cornstarch or the flour too fast and you're not whisking it up, you get the lumps. So another thing that you could do is you could pour this into like a mason jar and then put the cornstarch in and just do a really good shake. That's another way it's the way my mom used to make gravy. She'd make up the kind of the roux and she'd put it all in a jar and then she'd start adding it in. But since this is really cold and it's not a hot mixture right now, really easy to whisk up. So when it gets hot is when you get the lumps. I'm just adding that in. So if you don't want to use cornstarch, cornstarches are now, GMO, GMO free, all those, arrowroot. You've got the tapioca flour, you've got all those different ones. So you could use those instead of cornstarch. Do what? Rice flour, you could. Rice flour doesn't as much, it doesn't, what am I trying to say? So cornstarch makes things thick. Rice flour doesn't do that as much. So like arrowroot is a really good replacement if you're looking for something like that. So we're going to put this on the stove in the back. And I'm going to do a little heat of it up. I'm going to turn it low. So this sauce is really good. So if you're making, let's just say you're making, it says 12 rolls, but if you like sauce and you like to drizzle it on top and you like to be able to dip and stuff, because these are almost like spring rolls type of a thing, then I would probably double and triple the sauce, because even if you have some left over, it's always a good thing. You could also use it on, if you make an Asian salad, so you could use that as the dressing also. I've done that a couple times before. Doesn't take too long. As you can see, it's already starting to cook down. It's doing really good. Just let it cook a little bit longer, making sure you want to make sure those carrots are al dente and little, almost to the soft part. You don't want to be biting into it and having a big chunk of carrot. Never had cabbage rolls. Yeah. I had cabbage rolls when I was a kid, and they used to call them, what do they call them? It's where they make them and they put, not roulade. What is it called? It's where they put cabbage and somebody you're going to type it in here. I know it. Cabbage, and they would put like hamburger or turkey meat, and then they all kind of like, not rutabaga. What is it? There's a store that makes them now, or a restaurant that makes them. You guys will be like, and so that's what my mom used to make with cabbage rolls. I was like, ugh. So it took me a long time to get over that as a grown up. Not pigs in a blanket. It'll come to me, like it'll be like midnight tonight. It'll be like, oh, that's the name. But they sell them that way, and they'll put dough. So it's like little pockets, dough. They'll put cabbage in the middle, and then they'll put like the turkey or hamburger meat and flavorings and stuff. And it's like you just eat them. And like, I can't think of the names. You guys will think about it. You'll come up with it. But those were something my mom would make all the time. She'd make them homemade. Not something like I said, took me a long time to face cabbage and stuffing and things like that. But now these are great. All right, so we got this going. So we're going to set this aside here in just a minute. Let me just check. Don't want to burn the sauce. All right, so now we're gonna I'm gonna turn that off because I don't need that. And let me I'm gonna take one thing off a burner and switch it. Yes, Birox, thank you. That's exactly what those are. And if you don't know what Birox are, you'll have to look it up. Just dump the water, so I don't need that one. Birox. Yeah. And my mom was a great cook. I'll give her that. I'll give her lots of props and stuff. But when you're a kid, having that kind of mixture stuff or sauerkraut and stuff, just when you're a kid, you're just like, no, not good. Just let that sit. All right, so once the water gets boiling, I'm going to add in 8 ounces. So like I said, this is just the whole grain. So this is going to be for the vegetable stir fry. So this is 16 ounces, so half what we're going to do. I would recommend this will make a bowl by the time we're all said and done about this size. And so if you're, kind of looking for, and I would say it's probably down about that much on the bowl. So if you're like, ooh, got family and things, I would do the whole 16 ounces and then just double all the different vegetables that are in there. And I've added, when I've done the salad, I've added broccoli, I've added cabbage, different kinds of cabbage, all kinds of things. So that's about half. Save the rest. I'll let it boil just a little bit more, and then I'll put that in. Oh, and see, I missed, and somebody didn't call me out. I actually missed a couple things because I'm like, so here's my spices, onion powder, and then a little bit of red chili. So if you don't want the red chili because you don't want the hot, leave that out. Put it in the fridge. It sticks a little sometimes at the bottom of those. And then tamari. Because you want that good flavor inside and out. So low sodium tamari. That's the nice thing about having everything out in front of you. You're like, oh, I forgot that one. But see, it's that easy. Before you actually start putting into the cabbage rolls, always a good thing to do, taste. A little bit longer on the carrots, but really good. Nice flavor. And this is one too, that if you're making this, you could also do, there's all kinds of like, hoisin sauces, different, whatever flavors that you're looking for, you could add that in here and make it a completely different flavor. You could actually do it like an Italian if you wanted to. And then you could dip the cabbage rolls. I know it sounds a little weird, but it actually sounds good into like a marinara sauce. So you could do that too. So you could just change up the ingredients and make it all kinds of different flavors. All right, so that. Just give it another stir. Check my sauce. Don't want to burn your sauce. Don't want to make it too thick. If your sauce doesn't set up, let's just say that you're cooking it for a little bit, but it doesn't seem to want to get thick, just add a little bit more cornstarch. So just what I would do is pour a little bit of the hot liquid into like one of these little things I have or something like that, or a little dish, and then add your cornstarch in and whisk it up, and then slowly pour it back into this. That way you'll thicken it up. All right, time for. And if you don't want the big long noodles, feel free, crack it in half, but I'm just going to leave them long. Spring, okay, so hi for springtime. If you can kindly demo 2 types of salad rolls, Vietnamese, Thai salad rolls with 1 different variation of it with different veggies would be great. Gotcha. Okay, thanks, Daisy. Appreciate that. And who did the Birox? Trish, thank you. Thank you for coming up with that. I was like, Hate that when it's like I have a senior moment or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's like, oh, I know what it is. Okay, so I'm going to pull this off to the side and just let it set, because that way you want it, when it cools down a little bit, it'll be easier to roll. And over here, check the sauce. Getting thick. I'm gonna dump the cold water. When you're actually kind of, getting these ready, what you can do too, and I'll just do that, just take like a white towel or some kind of a towel that you have. I know we all have lots of kitchen towels, and this is what I usually do with the lettuce. When I'm getting lettuce ready on a Saturday or Sunday after I've done a bunch of shopping, I always rinse the lettuce off and then put it on a towel like this, so I can just blot it before I put it into the containers in the fridge, so I can keep it for a couple weeks. I'll have to demo that one of these days. The actual the little plastic boxes I have that are in the fridge, because I'll buy a whole bunch of lettuce, and then I'll cut up, and have it where it's just the lettuce leaves and take the core off, and then pack it all into these containers, and I'll have lettuce that stays fresh for like up to 2 weeks, sometimes even longer. So I'll demo that. I'll do that on one of the classes for like a meal prep. It's really nice. You're not throwing away lettuce, which is great. Okay, so I'll just throw this kind of back to the back. Just let it drip dry. Okay, taking this off. So it's not 100% thick yet, but you'll see that it's a lot thicker when it is, because I want it to cool down a little bit. And the more that it cools down, the thicker it's going to get. So this is actually just, let me do this. I'll do a spoon. That's the consistency I want, because like I said, right when it's cooked that way, then it's going to start cooling down, and then it's going to get even thicker and thicker. So I'll just put that there. All right, so now we need what's cool about these two recipes together too is that you've got a lot of the same ingredients. So it's like when you chop up one carrot, you do slices, and you chop up another carrot and you do diced. So, you could add zucchini into the cabbage rolls, all those kind of things like that. So you have everything that's kind of together, which makes it easy. So you're not cutting up so many vegetables. All right, so got the noodles cooking. We're going to do heat vegetable broth. So this is, like I said, this is one of my favorite salads. And this is one that once you do it too, you can actually, you can put like spinach with it and lettuce. So you can almost make it like a whole big lettuce salad once it's done. So the next day, if you want to change it up a little bit, it's great. But it's so good to eat like for multiple days. It's one of the favorites. And we've got summer coming up, maybe, depending on where you live. We just got through another snowstorm, and they keep coming, like, I don't know, about an inch here, an inch there type of thing in Colorado. But once it gets to the nice time, this is a perfect salad to take with you on parties and get-togethers and all that. Okay, so vegetable broth is going. So we've got ginger again. So we actually said this is probably a lot of ginger in this one. And I'm looking for the recipe. Okay, half. Once you're done, you're grating it just like this. Then turn around, throw this back in a baggie, put it back in the freezer. Okay, I'm gonna throw it in the freezer so I don't lose it. My bag of ginger is one of the great big gallon size, and it's probably half full of all kinds of the ginger and stuff that I just keep using, which is really nice. I like where my recipe's curling up. Just check all these things going. So you got to check all the different things. Okay, so we got the ginger in there. We've got garlic. Let me get another spoon. The house smells so good with all the ginger. Love it. All right. So we got there, so they got that going. So now we're gonna add the mushrooms. So the mushrooms for this salad are sliced. If you want to do the same thing and just dice them all up and have dice for both of the recipes, you could do that. But these are the same mushrooms we bought. I just split a 16-ounce container. Half of it was sliced and half of it was diced. But you could do portobello, whatever's your favorite. Or you could say, don't like mushrooms, which like I said, I get, and completely leave mushrooms out, use eggplant, use, you could do like the yellow squash, there's all these vegetables that are coming out and you could just add that instead. So same thing, don't add a lot of vegetable broth until you see what your mushrooms are doing. Okay, and then we got the carrots. So just nice little slices, a little bit bigger than matchstick. Add them in. I always talk about, wouldn't it be nice if you came home and you're like, oh, sounds good, but everything was all chopped up and made up like this? Would make cooking a lot easier. I agree. I fully agree with that. All right, so we got the mushrooms, carrots, we got the red bell pepper. Nice little slices. You could mix it up and you could do red, yellow, and orange, or the little mini sweet peppers, which would be really pretty. Color. It's all about color equals to me as eye candy. It's like you look at it and you're like, so good. I'm going to hold off on the zucchini just a little bit because zucchini cooks really fast, so you don't need much. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of vegetable broth because mushrooms are not putting out a lot of moisture. You could also, another variation that I've done this before too, you could actually not make it a stir fry and make it raw. So you could have the cabbage rolls, which are cooked, and then you could have this the vegetable stir fry noodles and not make it a stir fry, but just make it vegetable noodles and then have the sauce on it and have it all be raw. And it's really good that way too. Add the carrots so you add carrots and bell peppers and red cabbage. That's a really good one. Like Dr. Furman, everybody always talks about how good it is to eat raw vegetables and cook. So that's another way to get in the raw vegetables instead of just eating carrot sticks. I like it. Okay, so we got that in there. We'll add the zucchini here in a couple minutes. So we got the spices. So we have onion powder, so same thing as we were having the other one, and then a little bit of smoked paprika. So give a little bit of smoked flavor. Mix that in so I don't forget the spices this time. For a minute, just check spaghetti. Nothing worse than overcooked spaghetti. Use it in a minute or two. All right, so we've got that in there. We've got the spices, and then make sure we've got if we need to add, the vegetable broth or something. So we're going to make the sauce. So sauce is very, very similar. So you could, if you wanted to, make they're very similar. You could make the sauce for the vegetable stir fry and then double it and make it and use that for the cabbage rolls, or vice versa. You could do that since things are very similar. Just give it a quick stir. Of course, when you're going to check to see if the vegetables are good, you're going to do the carrots because you want to make sure you grab the most dense vegetable, and that's the one that you try to see if everything else is good. But it's pretty. Not a lot of color right now. The green's not in there, but once we get the zucchini in and we make the zucchini to al dente, so there's nothing worse than like mushy zucchini, then it'll be really pretty. And then of course I cut up scallions so that we have those for decoration. Sauce is doing really well. Here is so not that it drizzles well, but at the same time is a good zipping sauce. That's how thick or thin that you want it. That's good. It's got some sweetness to it. It's got a little bit of kick, but definitely the ginger. And you can always add more ginger. So if you're really like a raving fan of ginger, add more ginger to it, or even into your cabbage rolls and stuff. But that's really good. It reminds me of a really good like hoisin sauce. So make your own. Make a big jar. Put it in the refrigerator. Use it for your salads. Use it for on vegetables. I've got a stir. So basically a wok here back at the back, but it's a cast iron which cooks really, really well. So you can just throw a bunch of vegetables in it and add the sauce, and you've got a great meal. That's perfect. Let me just rinse these off really quick and then we will get everything else going. Spaghetti bath. Just do a little rinse. It's a good thing I don't have glasses on. That would be, I wouldn't be able to see for the next couple of minutes. Okay, there we go. That in there. That to the side. Check my vegetables. Couple more minutes. Cook your vegetables to like the temperature or to the bite that you want. So if you want them to still be kind of like a little bit of raw, like maybe al dente, feel free to do that. So change things up to where you don't have the soggy vegetables. It's kind of nice not to have soggy. So those probably only need about another minute or more. All right, so we are going to do the sauce for this one. So this one you can see doesn't have the water and stuff. It has actually a little bit more of the vegetable broth, so a little bit different flavor, but very similar. So like I said, make one sauce or the other. You don't have to make both. Just keep stirring a little bit. All right, and then we're going to add, so we've got tamari, low sodium. So you can mix it. So one of these things, you're going to heat this sauce also. So you could actually mix it in a bowl and then put it into the saucepan. But I'm thinking, why use another pan or another dish? So I'm just going to put it right into the saucepan. Then we're going to heat it up a little bit. Okay, and then we've got maple syrup. So you can see a lot of similarities. You don't want maple syrup because some people are like, you could do agave. It's adding a little bit of the sweetness. If you don't want agave, then you could do monk fruit because it doesn't add any of the calories. If you do monk fruit, I would say you probably want to start out with maybe a half a teaspoon, taste it and see if that's enough sweetness. If not, add a little bit more. And even on all my recipe, I always talk about with spices is a lot of times in recipes, like if you go to Pinterest and all those different places, you'll find that people overspice things because they think that vegetables need all these spices and they don't. So always start low because you have a different palate than I do, but start low and then keep adding in the spices because you can always add, you can't take away. And last thing I want to do is have you cook a bunch of really good food and do all the chopping and then turn around and it's like, oh my gosh, that's the worst because it's got too much oregano or too much, basil or something like that, or rosemary type thing. So go low, build up. Okay, so then we've got that in there. We've got the cornstarch we'll add. And then we've got the rice vinegar. So very similar sauces. So same thing. Let me grab. You can, yes, that's the other one. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. That was Kelly to Kelly. So you can do date syrup. I would use a lot of date paste, date syrup. You can do that too. There's all kinds of different things out there. So to make your own date paste, of course, that's just dates that are soaked in water. Use the water and then put them in a blender, high-speed blender, and make it where it's smooth. And then put it into, and then you just want to put it into like some kind of a covered glass dish or something like that, and then just keep it in the fridge and use it. It's great for everything. Date paste, date syrup's great. That was a great reminder. I knew there was another thing I was missing. Okay, in goes zucchini. So everything looks like it's cooking well. Lots of heat. Zucchini. All right, this is all mixed. And think about zucchini, only saute for a few minutes. The zucchini goes from al dente to mush really quick. All right, so in a big bowl. And then we'll roll cabbage rolls. And it does, it does say in the recipe, add it in. So if you're, like when you're doing a marinara sauce or something like that, you're adding it into the marinara, the spaghetti. But with this one and stuff, I'm actually just going to add, making it easier so it's easier to see. I'm going to add the sauce once it's heated into this. And I'm going to turn this pretty much off. And then I'm going to add the sauce and everything into here and just mix it up, makes it a little bit easier. The other thing that I'm going to add, since I had all this extra inside of the cabbage, so the leaves were really tiny, I'm actually going to add some of the cabbage in there. So I'm just going to dump that in. That way there's no waste, which is always a good thing. Jerry loves cabbage. If I'm ever cutting up red cabbage or green cabbage in the kitchen, I have to take the spoon, hit him on the knuckles, because he will actually sit there and just grab handfuls of cabbage to eat. And I'm leaving that, there's a little bit of sauteing on the cabbage, but I'm leaving that quite a bit raw. Right. So pretty, very pretty. You could add, like I said, red cabbage, you want even more color. So I'm just going to add that in. Make sure all the good things. Whoa, I was messy. There we go. Okay, just kind of give it, kind of mix it in. Would like to see an assortment of delicious novel dressings to top salads and steam. Yeah, we can do that. I have a lot of dressings. I have one that we commonly refer to as the crack dressing. And we had a lady that was just in one of our face-to-face classes that we did here at the clubhouse. And she's like, nope, I follow, I do oils, I do all these other things. And I said, just try, just kind of shutting this down a little bit. I said, just try this dressing and then let me know what you think. And I said, and she came back and she said, oh my gosh, this is the best dressing. And it's using flax seeds to be able to make it where it's thick. I usually make it by the mason jar, like the pint, not the pint, is it pint? No, half pint? I can't remember, quart mason jars. I make it by that and I keep it in the refrigerator. And we've had it with the plastic lid, because if you use the metal lid, you get the metal oxidation and it'll run your dressing really quick. You grab the little plastic lids, which look like this. And these are on Amazon for, I think, like 12 for under $10. If you do that, then it keeps, we've had that dressing in there. We're down to probably this much, going on about a month and a half. It's wonderful. And you can make it, you can add, I always talk about, you can add Grey Poupon mustard, but you could add the regular yellow mustard. You could do the stone ground, change it up, add some basil, change all that. Love the lids. Yeah, these are great. And you can get them for everything. And it keeps everything that's fresh in your mason jars without the metal oxidation that happens. Because like a lot of times and stuff, when you take the lid off of the mason jars, it'll be like really gunky and it'll always smell like metal. This is the way to get away from it. Is that dressing? Yeah, let me think about it. I think it is. If it's not, so if you're like, I want the crack dressing now. The reason why we call it crack is because we have a really good friend that said, I will not eat anything other than blue cheese dressing, period. That's all I ever going to eat. Tried this and said this, she's like, this is like crack. She says, I can't, she says, I have to eat it and eat it and eat it. So that's why she calls it the crack. That's why we call it the crack dressing. We always have to explain it because everybody's like, what are you guys into? But it is really good. And I bring it for like all parties. It's one of the best balsamics, but there's so many ways and we'll talk about that. I've got Let's see, I tried to think what else I've done. I did a ranch dressing here recently. There's avocado dressings, which of course don't keep as long, but there's tons of dressings out there that are really, really good. That yes, we can do dressings and we could do fun salads. We did at the clubhouse, we did a rainbow carrot salad. It was so good. All right, so I'm gonna hold this off for a minute, let it cool. I'm running out of hot pads. So there we go. Just let it cool there. All right, so let's get these made. So I'm adding in the rice. So just regular cooked brown rice. Nice and cool now, so it's going to be easier to handle. I'll have to try. Yeah, I've not tried them with canning because it's been a long time since I've canned, but they are for anything else. Like I have tons of mason jars. I do these. So like if I make up vegan mayo, I put the vegan mayo in here. And of course, same lid fits. And same lid fits this one, which is really nice. And so this one could be, if you've got like maybe pickled vegetables or something like that, but you can get them in color or you can get them in white, and they rinse up really nice. And then they have like a little plastic sealant on them that are really nice. So they hold things really, really well. Didn't mean for canning. Let's see. I can't see it. I don't see it. One thing. Let me make sure I'm not missing a question. Jerry said I missed a question. Yeah, we do. So hi, Rob. Nice to see you. Miss you. We do them here at, we actually moved to Inspiration, which is, I don't know if you know where Hilltop Inspiration is. So we did that and we moved into a community and stuff, but we do the classes there. So we're working out right now what that's going to look like, but I can email you and talk to you about that. Yeah. All right. So there is everything that we're going to make. Let me grab what I do with them. So this is after they were actually steamed a little bit, which is really nice, or just boiled. So they're really soft. We're going to grab that. I've got my spoon. I'm going to grab a nice little plate so you can see them. So sauce. I'm going to go in the middle. Jerry will probably eat 3/4 of the sauce. All right, so now put this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So it says, about 1.5 tablespoons. So it depends on your actual size. You don't want to overfill, just like if you're doing tamales or anything like that. You don't want to overfill it, because if you do, then of course everything leaks out to the side. So you can do it a couple ways. You can actually bring it, to the side like this and wrap it up, or you could start from the sides and wrap them up. So they're nice little cabbage rolls, or you could grab it like that and you can kind of roll it a little bit, and you can make them long like that. You can tuck in the corners like that. So I'm going to leave a couple here because I want to cut them in half so you guys can see them. Makes quite a bit of ingredients here, so you're going to have some extra ingredients left over. If you do, it goes good on potatoes or salads or any of those type of things. So kind of tuck it in, almost like you're doing like a sushi roll a little bit. Okay, tuck it in a little bit. Let's do a few. Since I have to go out of town, Jerry's going to be like, go ahead and roll out the rest of those and I'll eat these over the next couple of days. Yep. See, if we had the actual Napa cabbage, easier to roll up and put everything together. But since these are a little bit smaller, they still work, but they don't roll up as the neat little packages as you do with the Napa. tuck it in, roll it up, do a little, oops, tuck. Okay, so let me do this. Make sure I cut all the way through. So there's, like I said, because they're smaller, but there's half of one. So I'm going to do a couple halves. So you can see them. I'm going to put some full ones here. Like I said, when you've got the Napa, you can roll it many different times. Much easier than this small little cabbage, but there is no Napa cabbage in Colorado. A few more. Watch my time. We've got time, so I can then get the salad ready for the stir fry. A few more. It's just one of these things that, if you're doing this for like an event or something, you could actually put this out and have people roll their own, which would be kind of a fun party. Something a little bit different than, I always like the like charcuterie boards and all those kind of things. This could be something that you could put all the ingredients on big boards and then have everybody make their own, which would be fun. Okay, last one. Scoot them in. All right, this out of the way. Grab the salad or the Asian stir fry. I have my sauce. So I'm gonna pour it on. Same thing. It's kind of like at a probably like a syrup level, as far as how it actually set up. And then add in. Give it a nice little stir. The nice thing about this salad too, once you put the lid on it, so let's say you put it, you keep it into this nice bowl like this. Once you put the lid on it, then before you get ready to eat it the next day, just do it like a tip over and just making sure your lid's on well and stuff. But once you tip it over and the sauce gets all mixed in there, very, very good. A little bit more, and then we're gonna plate it. And if you have extra, that's what you can dip your cabbage rolls in. All right, let me grab my bowl. Trying to get it where I don't slop everything over. So we're serving it. Nice that a lot of the vegetables float to the bottom because then you can add them right to the top. And get a towel. Get everything out of the way. Boop. Okay, scallions. Black sesame seeds. Regular sesame seeds. You don't have to add sesame seeds. Some people would actually prefer peanuts on something like this too. You could do that. A little bit here or there. Adding some of the pretty. Turn it that way. Use my scallions since I chopped them up. So here is, so we actually called it, so let me just look at the actual name. So we're saying it the right way. So Asian stir fry, so vegetable stir fried noodles. But like I said, you could make it, you could actually do the exact same vegetables raw if you wanted to do it, add the sauce. There is probably about a quarter cup of sauce that was left over that was on this. So that's the good thing because you get to keep it, or you can add it to the cabbage rolls. And then here, I'm going to tip it too much. Here's my cabbage rolls all ready to go. And the dipping sauce is in the middle. But actually, one thing I'll add before we go. A little bit of drizzle. Without actually getting all the scallions there. Go. There you go. So there's the yummy cabbage rolls that we get to have, plus the side dish of the stir fry. Hope you guys enjoyed. Looking to see, thank you so much for this session. Of course, everything's great. I hope you guys try it. If you do try the recipes over the weekend or even in the next couple of weeks and stuff, send me an email, send me a picture, that type of thing. Love to see what you guys do. Love to hear what you add into it. Like I said, broccoli, cauliflower, you can add pretty much red cabbage, anything that you want to add into it. But this together, delicious. So, all right, I will get everything posted up for April. So I'll get the 2 classes up in April and get those going so you guys can sign up for those. But thank you so much for joining us. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.